I mean, another big part of kind of drum and bass is obviously snares
Yeah.
and layering snares.
Yes.
Have you got any kind of tips, or can you tell how do you go about layering snares?
These days, rule number one, and actually AJ just twittered this today, the best path to good drums is to start with good hits to begin with. So find sounds that you really like. One thing I've done, you can pretty much take any break and make it sound good with a very powerful sampler, the NNXT or a Contact. The NNXT is a Reason sampler, and Contact's available for anything. But you can layer up just as it goes. You can even do a lot of this in battery as well. But one thing I like to do is kind of play this ADSR game. So you can have something that's a really quick, like super quick transient pop, and like for snare drum, for instance, I'll do the pendulum trick, really push for something around like 198, 200 hertz, and make that kind of the beef of it. Sit there and play with it till it's in the right place, and then I kind of take this attitude to where I'm designing the sound and what people hear. So anything that sounds more like chain in a snare drum, have it come kind of later. And the cool thing is, if you sit there and really dig into it, you can set filters and EQs to a way so nothing's really conflicting with each other. So you can make like a really detailed snare, and then you can even layer it some more. I find like a lot of it is just being very precise with your layering, and especially to the point where, attack, decay, sustain, release is all something that's worked in. So every time it's that one MIDI note hits, you get a sound, and sort of things are being built as it goes.
So how many kind of layers would you normally have? Like, I guess it depends on the quality of the samples.
Of course. But it can be anywhere. There are tunes we've done where it's only like one or two snares. There are others that are like 6 to 12. There's like a newer dubstep tune we just did where that we just pretty much finished up, and there are like 6 snares layered, but we really only use the main beef of one of them. And just kind of how it all goes. You just kind of figure it out. Sometimes you'll just get to the mix down point and just be like, man, I don't really need to rely on the rest of this, so I'm just gonna make this one really loud, and kind of do the same thing. Like at that point, since I'm not working in samplers, I'll use noise gates if I want to get rid of the initial transient on a certain hit. So that way, the noise gate hits, and it sort of just lets the rest of it kind of pop open afterwards. Kind of like a pre-delay effect, but a snare drum. So works nicely.
So I mean, the Evol sound has definitely it's progressed, but I mean, as far as your approach, kind of technically, do you think that stayed sort of fairly similar right through? And like when if you approach a track, do you just find something you like and start building on that, or do you come in with a particular idea, or do you have is it?
Every tune's kind of different, Sometimes it'll start just at the very intro. I'd kind of think about it like, okay, I'm gonna start this tune as you would hear a tune begin, like hi-hats or whatever, and just kind of build upon it, and then work up to a drop. Other times, just start with a main riff idea or a bass line or something, very similar. I guess I'm very ADD about it. Like, there's no set method for me. I just kind of work on something, hear something that works, and go. I'm sure AJ and Nick would answer this question differently too. Like everyone just kind of has their own approach. But I guess I've noticed that usually one or two of us would start on a tune, and if two of us are working together, like me and Nick, we just kind of be like, okay, we'll go in that like this, or we'll just dig through sounds, or we'll process sounds ahead of time and get ideas about what we want to do first. What kind of plan of attack to take. And I mean, that works too. I mean, that's probably the one thing I do more than anything else, is I'll try to sit there and work the samples over and get ideas. And if something really just strikes me right off the bat, I'll just open up the sequencer, start going to town. And just there's a bunch of different ways to go about it.
Do you find that you guys kind of end up falling to specific roles, or is it kind of completely all over the place all the time? Or surely some of you must have more strengths in different areas, or
Yeah, definitely. We used to kind of fall into roles, but nowadays it's all a crapshoot. Anyone can be doing anything. I mean, one thing with the Evil Intent stuff, I'm always doing the final engineering. But these days, like, Nick and AJ are awesome engineers in their own rights as well. Like, AJ especially, just like with his Treasure Fingers stuff, is just, like, you know, every time he sends me something new, just kills the mix down. It's awesome. And so, yeah, I'm at this point now where I'm just like, well, you know, damn, like, it doesn't even have to be me last anymore, but I guess it's just kind of traditionally how it goes.
okay.
I get very meticulous, and I guess I'll sit there and work on it until it's right.
Cool. And have you got any tips? Sorry, I'm totally milking you here
fine,
for
man.
everything. Have you got any tips as far as getting everything to sit right in the mix? Like, obviously you want everything to have its own sort of frequency range, but that can be quite a task to get everything really nice.
One thing I do, and I've heard a lot of other engineers say this, is you can kind of work off of a high pass and a low pass. The Logic EQ is very nice for this. And just kind of make everything sit in its range. Working with the spectrum analysis is really good too. So you can kind of see like what the part of the sound is that you really want. You know, I've heard sounds where you'll see like, you know, hi-hat for instance, and there'll just be all this junk in the lows and mids. And all you really need that you want to pop through is that high part. So just kind of, you know, shelve it all off. And there are, I don't know, bunch of different things you can do. I would say work at different volumes. Go loud, go soft. Something I do a lot as well. Kind of think about what you want where in your mix. Like I always kill the sub on most everything except for the kick drum and the bass. Or the sub, well, you know, bass as in mid-range and sub. And just kind of make sure nothing really clashes into it. Yeah, there's a lot of different things. Every tune is different too. If you have vocals that you're using, you know, you're going to want things to sit a bit differently so you can make space for them. There are even things you can do as far as, you know, side chaining everything to piss with each other. Like, you know, if you're doing pop music, you can, you know, put your vocals against your guitars. There's just a million different ways you can get really deep with it these days, and it's, you know, again, very cool that we're at a point, you know, where you can go buy a Mac, get a program like Logic, and you already have more tools than most studios did 15 years ago. So
it's kind of
nice
ridiculous,
time, yeah. It really is. So you can do extremely complicated mixes. Another thing would be to maybe not over limit everything going into it. Sometimes helps to make things sit better. What else? I don't know. You can sit there and kind of play with it as well.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's a free one I use a lot called W1 that sounds just as good as L1. And sometimes I'll do that. I'll sit there and start with it wide open to where there's a lot of dynamics, and then just pull it down and squash it and see what you get. And going back and forth like that can help you find different things in the mix you might need. I know a lot of other guys, they just go full on, like, you know, push it hard through a limiter. I mean, I've been guilty of that too. Like, there's a Computer Club tune I did. The original version was like had a stupid name like Air Mattress Love Squeezins, but like when I did the
That's a great name.
Thank you. When I did the original mixes on it, it was just all pushed to this little limiter, and I didn't even realize it, but it actually all sat kind of nicely in the mix. Minimalism is always good too, you know, and that will make it easier to make stuff sit in the mix. That tune actually became the collaboration I did with Frank Music, Losing Streak. So.